Welcome to episode 6 of Indie Game Dev Report. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope everyone is well. In this episode, I've got an interview with Gabriel Pescado, aka Gabe the Dead Fish on Twitter and Itch. But I'd like to first bring up a few things. First off, I'd like to bring up Pitch Ya Game, which is a hashtag, but also a growing community of devs that are communing on Pitch Ya Game Discord server. If you're on Twitter at all, I'm sure that you've seen the amazing games using that particular hashtag. Go to pitchygame.com to get the link to the Discord. I've personally taken place in round 1 and round 2, and the turnout has been a little overwhelming, to be honest. My prediction is that round 3 will be even bigger. Round 3 for Pitch Your Game is the 28th of July. So go to the website, pitchygame.com, and check out the rules or just join in with the hashtag. But if you're serious, you should probably check out the site and the awesome Discord server that Indie Game Lover has helped to set up in conjunction with Liam Twos, who is responsible for starting the Pitch Your Game Mania. And if you missed the awards, you can find a link to the VOD on Discord. But remember, Pitch Your Game Round 3, July 28th. Go to pitchygame.com. Definitely excited to see what all comes out of that. And at this point, I might as well say that Discord, since I've mentioned it a couple times already, is super helpful for most of what I do. And obviously I'm not paid or anything. This is completely unofficial. But regardless, holy cow, Discord can be a super useful tool for business development, community building, and management. It's perfect for podcasting. It's great for voice over IP and group video chats and even communicating with remote team members, which is actually how I stumbled upon the platform back in 2017 when I joined a Ludum Dare with a small group of strangers I found on a site called CrowdForge, which seems to be defunct now, unfortunately. But anyways, that's how we made Lightswitch Crusader, and all the communication was done through Discord. I definitely think Discord is a great tool, but you probably already know all this. You probably already use Discord. You might be looking for more ways to get the most out of it. And while joining the IGDR server and the Retro Spaceball server is totally recommended, I'd actually really like to take this opportunity to direct listeners to this amazing Discord server I discovered called Games Marketing Essentials. It's geared towards games marketing, community management, crowdfunding, advertising, analytics, pitching, events, email marketing. I'm literally reading the channels here. There's one for press, social media, streaming, trailers, partnerships, and a whole bunch more. There's actually a channel that has a link to a form where you can ask questions anonymously, which is really cool. I think that's a great idea. So if you haven't guessed, this Discord is adminned by Lauren Moses, who I've actually had the privilege of chatting with. She's really cool. What she's put together with the help of the CM and game dev community is truly out to help the community. It's seriously one of the most useful servers I've found in all of my time searching through Discord servers. So what's the catch? None. All you gotta do is apply to join. There's a little bit of a hurdle, but it's super easy. Pretty much everyone's getting accepted who's a game dev, or it's just their way of keeping spam out, it seems like. It seems a little secretive right now, but it's blowing up. It's bound to catch fire soon, so I recommend getting in sooner than later, so that way you can make a good appearance with a tight-knit community before it blows up. Anyone who's serious in learning more about marketing games, definitely go to twitter.com/GME community and follow them. And there's a link in their bio to the forum, and they will send you an invite to the Discord after you apply. And it seems like every Thursday there appears to be this awesome guest speaker event. I've only had the chance to get involved once because of my work schedule, and they're based in the UK. So it's early morning where I'm at. It's hard to keep up with it, but what I did catch, I was amazed. I thought it was just absolutely awesome. Definitely check out their stuff. I believe they're creating a podcast as well based off of that. So for podcast listeners, you'll definitely be able to find that. But if you're a developer, you can jump on Discord, get involved in the community, ask some questions, and have fun learning. Okay, so thanks for listening to my little intro segment here. Sorry it was a little bit long. Without further ado, I'd like to bring Gabriel Pescado on, aka Gabe the Dead Fish, and we're going to talk about his 2D platformer that gets weekly updates called How Far Will You Go? All right, everybody, I've got an awesome interview here, and I've just met Gabriel Pescado from Momo Games, and we've just been chatting a little bit, so we haven't really gone into any details here, so this will be a networking experience, I think. But yeah, do you want to go into your background and introduce yourself a little bit here, Gabriel?
Yeah, there's not much. I don't have an extensive game dev background. I mean, I went to university for 4 years to and got a degree in computer systems. That way I could have something as a backup in case my indie dev didn't work out for me for whatever reason. But I did get to learn a lot about programming, which helped me a lot with game dev. I have two games on my itch page. One of them is Cold Immortal. That's on hold. I'm technically not finished with that. I needed a break from that. And then I have another game called How Far Will You Go? Both those games are available to play.
Yeah, and I played How Far Will You Go for a little bit. I didn't get too far into it, but it seems like a fun game for people who like two-dimensional platformers. The art style is awesome. Now, are you working on the art? Are you paying people for the art? How is the art?
No, I'm paying for the art. I can't pixel art, so I outsourced most of the stuff aside from the programming and level design.
Cool. And as far as the programming goes, like I said, I didn't get too far into the game, but the player controller is very, very smooth, which is really important for two-dimensional platformers. So I think that you've got a strong grasp on that from what I experienced in the game.
Okay, yeah, I'm glad you feel that way. Yeah, I watch a lot of game reviews, especially of 2D platformers, because I see some really good ones on YouTube that go very in depth. So I kind of study like what they say works about different games and what doesn't, and I'm kind of taking inspiration from that.
Sure. And as far as inspiration goes, are 2D platformers something that you grew up with, or something that you're playing a lot currently, or?
Both.
Cool. What were some of your favorites?
Some of my favorites include Super Mario, of course, Yoshi's Island, Earthworm Jim, Donkey Kong Country.
Wow. Very cool. And then as far as 2D platformers today, what are some of your favorites that you've seen or that you're playing today?
Today, the new Rayman games, Origins and Legends, Super Meat Boy.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, no, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I was gonna say that I would say Super Meat Boy is probably the biggest inspiration for my How Far Will You Go game, because that was kind of where I got the idea of kind of quick levels, quick challenging levels.
Sure, yeah. I remember when I first started getting into indie games, like as far as purchasing them, like Super Meat Boy was one of the first ones I was like, wow, yeah, this is definitely worth whatever they're asking for. And I ran out and grabbed it. This was back in 2010 or something, 2011 or something, and yeah, because I'd always been a console person growing up, but when the indie scene started blossoming, yeah, I definitely hopped on board as far as purchasing games go, because I was already starting to learn how to make games at that point. So yeah, I was definitely influenced by Super Meat Boy as well. Personally, that game was so difficult. I couldn't beat the lava boss. I think my problem was that my controller was just not responsive enough. It was like a radio frequency controller or something like that. It used like infrared or radio frequency. I can't remember what it was, but it wasn't Bluetooth.
Oh yeah. You definitely need good responsive controller for that game because you need really good reflexes.
Oh yeah, I mean that's an understatement right there. It's so as far as your game is a lot more from at least the first few levels are a lot more chill. Now, do you get to that level of difficulty later in the game, or is it always going to stay a little bit more chill than say the Super Meat Boy?
Well, it's definitely not going to be as hard as Super Meat Boy, especially because kind of one of the gimmicks of it is that you start with only one life. It used to be it was just you try to beat the whole thing with one life, but I added gems that you could collect to get extra lives, but you'll still start with only one life. But once you run out of lives, you start from the beginning. I'm still deciding whether I want to make you start from the beginning of the whole game or I want to make you start from the beginning of each world because this game is going to have like 5 or 6 worlds in the end, in the final product.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of like a almost like a throwback to the way things were done in like the Nintendo era. It seems like.
Right.
Yeah, and that's when I jumped on video games. Really, I mean, early Atari and NES were like that's where I was at.
Right.
Yeah. And how about Celeste? Have you checked that one out yet?
That one's definitely on my bucket list. I heard really good things about it.
Oh, and did you grab that itch bundle, by the way?
Yeah, I did actually get that. The one that has like 700 games.
Yeah, Celeste is on there.
Oh, is it?
It sure is. Yeah, yeah. I think that was one of the things that helped it boost in sales there. So yeah, definitely check out Celeste. I played it on Switch, and I actually was really into Celeste. As far as 2D platformers go, I'm not a big 2D platformer player. So, but I did play the crap out of Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong Country 2. But I hit a level of frustration, I think, especially in Donkey Kong Country 2. And then again in Celeste, where it was like, I gotta beat this level, and I finally beat it. And then like I've got a blister, and like I'm just not ready to play the next level. And that's where I'm at in Celeste, where I literally got a blister from the Nintendo Switch's small little buttons, and then I was like, oh, do I really want to play this last level? Like, there's probably another level after, and
Right.
Yeah. But that's just me. Everyone's totally different, and 2D platformers, I think, still people find that really comfortable, and there's still a lot of room for evolution in those types of games.
Yeah, definitely. I'd definitely love to evolve 2D platformers one day.
Yeah, and like I don't know, maybe I'm wrong here because like I said, I haven't played your game too much. But from what I'm seeing, it's kind of like a 2-dimensional Spyro the Dragon in a sense, almost.
Yeah. I guess you could say that because it does start dragging. I guess except he's on 2 legs, but he does collect gems. The difference though is that the gems actually give you powers. It's not really. I am going to add like a completionist side quest to the game, but
sure.
Its primary purpose is that they give you different powers. For example, in the first world, you get these you get those life gems that I mentioned before that give you lives. You can pick up fire gems to breathe fire, and you can pick up wind gem to help you jump higher.
Okay, yeah, sure. So it's got like almost adventure, almost Metroidvania style elements to it, where different abilities let you progress further.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Except it's a lot more action. The level design's a lot more straightforward and action oriented.
Okay. And I noticed that the first few levels are all on one screen. Is that something that sticks throughout the game, or is that something that changes?
Yeah. For the most part, they're gonna stick to one screen. In level 9, it actually kind of deviates from that in that you start off from the bottom of the level, and you'll jump your way up to the top of the level, and the screen actually scrolls upward as you move up.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I did not get that far, but I think I might have seen something. That sounds about right. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, the scrolling of the level, that sounds awesome. So are there any other things that you're still adding to the game, or is or most of the mechanics kind of set in stone here?
See, I mean, there's going to be more power-ups than I mentioned in the later worlds, and there's also going to be more enemies, and the worlds are going to have different themes. I'm thinking of making the second world a mountain-themed world.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
I'm also playing that secret levels. Maybe you can go, if you go off the beaten path, you can run to a secret room and either get more lives or unlock stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, as far as throwbacks to 90s games go, I think secrets are definitely a thing that should be involved.
Yeah, secrets are always one of my favorite things.
Absolutely.
About platformers in particular.
What are your favorites that you could remember, to put you on the spot? Do you remember any of your favorite secrets from back in the day?
Yeah, well, I had a lot of memories of breaking secret rooms in Donkey Kong Country.
That's right.
I just like, you know how if you barrels, so like I just like hold barrels with one of the characters. And just run into as many walls as possible to see which ones would break.
I remember that. Yeah, I did the same thing. That's great. I kind of forgot about it. I'm glad you reminded me.
Yeah. Also with Mario or Yoshi's Island, I would just press down on any pipe I could find because any one of them had to have a secret room in it.
Sure. Or jump up and hit your head on the ones from the ceiling, for sure. I remember that. Right. That's great. Yeah. I mean, for me, I think Doom, was my favorite. I love the secrets in Doom, of course. Yeah. Just about any secret, and like even the earliest ones in like Super Mario Brothers, where you just like go on top of the level. Like I thought that was so cool,
Right, exactly.
Or the second quest in Zelda. Oh man, I finally went and beat that. It took me forever to figure it out. I needed the internet. I don't know how people did it back in the day.
Yeah. Some games, actually, the funny thing was me replaying Donkey Kong Country, the first minecart level. I swear it was so much harder when I replayed it as an adult than when I was 8 and replayed it. I was like, holy crap, how did I beat this when I was 8?
Oh, there's that one jump where it's just so difficult. You know what I'm talking about? Where it's like you have to get to the very edge of the rail and jump to get over the minecart that's on the other edge of the other rail. Oh man.
Right.
I remember that vividly, like being stuck on there for probably, well, I don't know, maybe it was only a handful of hours, but it felt like a week.
Right.
But yeah, if I went back and played it now, I don't think I'd be able to do it. Maybe, I don't know. You've inspired me.
Oh, glad to hear that.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm downloading Celeste now. I'm glad you told me that was on the bundle.
Oh yeah.
There's so many games, was overwhelming. So I was like, oh okay, I'll get to them eventually. But
it is. It's overwhelming. So what I've been doing is I've been searching for lists, and people are making them. So if you just Google like best games of the itch bundle, like there's lists out there that are forming. Like I found one on Facebook, and that's where I first got the idea of like people forming lists. There was like a Facebook group of people saying like I know this game is good, it's on there, and that's how I found Cat Lateral Damage, which is awesome.
I like the title.
Oh, you play, it's a destructive cat simulator. And there's a VR version too. I mean, there's a pancake version and a VR version, but you have like these cat hands that are on your VR hands, and you just knock things off of surfaces, and it's great. You have to play it, I guess. That's
some simulator type games are all the rage now, I guess.
It's, I didn't think I would like it as much as I did. I thought I'd get a kick out of it and that would be it. But like putting yourself in like the shoes of a cat is a lot more immersive than you think, because like it's all stuff that you recognize, you know, like books, TV and stuff, but it's huge. The level is huge, you know what I mean? It's like you're really immersed in this massive world, and you really have to teleport, which makes you feel like you're like jumping around like a cat. It's a very strange experience. But yeah, the itch bundle's great. I don't mean to get too off topic, sorry.
No, you're good.
All right. So as far as inspiration goes, what was your biggest inspiration for your current project that you're working on? How far will you go? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's what's called. Yeah, Super Meat Boy definitely was it. I guess I subconsciously took inspiration from Spyro, but I really wanted a dragon main character, and I'm really happy with how he turned out.
Sure. Yeah, it doesn't look like Spyro. Just to clear that up. I mean, the fact that he's purple, I guess, kind of has some Spyro subconscious elements to it, but he doesn't have Spyro's face or anything like that. It's very drawn differently.
Yeah, well, I mean, I figured I'm not surprised I got the comparison, because there's not that many I think there are that many dragon main characters, especially for platformers.
Right. Yeah. And you know,
it'd be like if I made my main character Bandicoot, like it wouldn't matter how much different he looked from Crash. It's like there are only two Bandicoots, so
it's true.
Gonna get the comparison.
Yeah, but you know, luckily, I think you've done enough of your own ideas so you know, I don't think anyone would confuse the two. You know what I mean? Right. No one would look at your game and say, "Oh, that's Spyro." That's not the case. So
it stands out just enough.
Yeah, and the same for Super Meat Boy. No one would look at it and say, "Oh, that's Super Meat Boy" either. What parts of Super Meat Boy would you say influence you the most? Just the fact that it's 2D platformer genre, or is there the same elements where you're saving someone at the end, or?
Well, it would be mainly the fact that the levels are short.
Okay.
Yeah, because I never played a platform with levels that short until Super Meat Boy.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, most of the levels so far, and how far you can go, you can beat them in less than a minute. So some of them you'll need shortcuts in order to do that, which several of the levels do have shortcuts. You can beat them quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, for the most part, you can beat these levels in a minute or less. Some of them 30 seconds or less if you know what you're doing.
Oh, wow. Okay. Very cool. Yeah. So, what kind of tools are you using to make this? Are you using Unity or?
Right now, I'm using Gamemaker Studio, not even the second one, the old first one, because sure. I paid for that years ago, and I'm broke, so I got to work with what I have.
Sure. And people can donate on your itch too.
Yeah. Yeah, for the record, anybody who donates on itch, they're more than welcome. I would like to put them in the credits, and they're more than welcome to let me know how they would like to be addressed in the credits.
Very cool. I think people appreciate that. I mean, actually, I know that people appreciate that.
Yeah. Cool. So far, it's gotten two people have donated to it, which I appreciate.
Oh yeah, one of them every counts, right?
Right. Yeah. Unfortunately, I couldn't pinpoint the name of the second one. I found their Gmail address, and I couldn't find a name to give to them, and I didn't feel comfortable giving out their email address. So
yeah, that's actually illegal.
Yeah.
But yeah, some people prefer their anonymity. I can't even say that word. So it's important to respect that. But yeah, that's great that people are donating. So awesome. Yeah. So what kind of stuff have you learned in the process of making this title? How far will you go?
Let's see. Question.
Or was it all stuff that you already knew, so that way it would be a little bit easier?
I think some of it is stuff I knew. Some of them is stuff I wish I learned. try not to put too much into your first few games because that's kind of why I had to put my other project on hold. My last game was going to have like 10 worlds in it. I think I'm only going to shrink it down to 5 when I get back to it.
Sure. So scope was an issue?
Yeah, scope has always been a big issue for me. I always get too overly ambitious. Like I get more ambitious than what I can actually do. And then another thing is that you should, even if you're just in the process of making a game, you should try to hype it up early. That was another thing I failed to do with my last project. Even before I made this game, even before I made How Far Will You Go playable to the public, I would keep like putting up screenshots, even though I knew people, not everyone would know what I was working on or why they should care. I just put screenshots. I just put screenshots. Hey, this is a game I'm working on. This is the name of the game, and these are some new enemies I'm adding, and all that. And
absolutely. I mean, you have to get started right away. I mean, it's really hard when it doesn't look good. So sometimes it's really important to just make it look good right away, right?
Right.
Is that what you've done with this project then?
Yeah, to some extent. I've been trying to get appealing backgrounds and art. I think I've gotten a lot better at marketing this game than I was with my last one.
And marketing a game is so much more important than I thought it was going into this.
Yeah.
I'd say that's the thing that I learned the most was that you can't even explain or express the importance of marketing or even a good way to do it because it's different for every project and it's just so important. What kind of things have you been doing as far as marketing?
For marketing, well, I do some of my own marketing. Every time I post an update for my game, now that it's available for public, I include a link to the game. So I'll say, oh, hey, I added this new mechanic to level 8, and then I'll say, oh, you can play my game here, and include the link to the itch page. And then, I don't know how effective it is, but in most of my tweets related to my game, I put please retweet. I don't know that I'm actually getting more retweets because I say that on there or not. So, I mean, that's at least an idea for people to try.
Sure.
But
I've never tried it myself. I think I've seen other people do it where it works, but who's to say if it was going to work or not, right? It's very hard to determine.
Yeah, it really is. But I always include links to my game now so that if people are interested, they can just click on it and play it. And then I've also been getting this one. I don't know if you ever heard of Woodstock Productions, but
yeah, I have.
The guy running it, he reached out to me and offered me marketing, and every paycheck or every other paycheck, I told him, hey, can you market my game for a few days? He has some pretty good packages. Like usually I get this package that's about $30, and it gets it helps a lot with the views. I tend to get the most views when he's marketing my game.
Really? Okay. And you would recommend Woodstock Productions for marketing indie games?
Yeah. I would at least recommend starting off with like if you have like $30 to spare, getting like the 2-day package. He has a website full of a bunch of different packages. I haven't tried most of the more expensive ones because just because I've been lacking in money. But
yeah, I've seen him on Twitter, and the follow game where you follow them, they unfollow you, and they follow you, and they unfollow you. I've seen that, and I'm not about to block a person that markets indie games, of course, but I haven't looked at their services, so I'm going to have to take a second look and see what how maybe they could help me in my projects. So I'm sure they appreciate your shout out here.
Yeah. I'll give you a link to his website.
Sure.
So you can check it out.
Yeah, no problem. I'm sure it's pretty easy to find, and like I said, I've seen them around on YouTube. I mean, not YouTube, on Twitter. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, I just sent you the link, so you can check that out on your time.
yeah, absolutely.
I would recommend starting off with like the 2-day package. It's like around $27 or something like that.
Yeah, $27.
Yeah, and then if it works out for you, you keep going.
Oh, okay. So they help you with Twitter advertisement. It looks like cool. For the most part.
Yeah, yeah. There's like a package I usually get where he like pins one of your tweets to his page, and I don't know what he does, but he gets a lot more likes on it at a faster rate than I do. So
Yeah, that sounds like a worth a shot, anyways, right? $30 can't hurt.
right.
Very cool. Have you received any other help? Maybe from just people or anyone else you want to shout out?
I mean, aside from that, I've had a few other people kind of retweet my tweets. Some of them are fellow indie devs. Some of them are just other people who follow me and they think I'm cool. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. And how about in the future? Do you see yourself working on projects in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would love to do this as a career. It's not feasible for me at the moment, but maybe I need to. I've heard something like you need to make 8 games or something like that before you really start popping.
Yeah, I've heard this too. I'd say it's different for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm kind of just taking it each day, working on my game a little each day, and seeing where it goes. I mean, I am. And I'm a little bit proud of myself because I've actually tweeted about this. Basically, my last project, Immortal, it has 300 views, and it had a page on it for over 2 years. How far will you go? That game has only been playable for like a month or two, and it already has like views in the 400s.
Oh wow! That's a huge motivator right there.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. And I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was just saying it's been a grind.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When did you first start using itch to upload games on?
I think it was around 2 years ago.
And that was a very fun.
Yeah. My the college I went to had a game design club, and I made a couple friends there, and one of them told me about itch. So that's how I learned about that.
I'm a huge fan of itch personally, but I do use Game Jolt also, and sometimes Newgrounds. Have you played with any of these other platforms? There's a whole bunch more.
I need to do more with Game Jolt. I'm slacking on that. I had a page started off on with for How Far Will You Go. I had that started off on it. I had that started off on Game Jolt, but I didn't finish it yet. I've been kind of slacking there.
Cool. Yeah, I've been doing a lot more marketing research and stuff like that on Game Jolt. And because I've been using Game Jolt almost as long as I've been using Itch, and I guess I've just been kind of neglecting it a little bit. And recently, I've been giving it the love that it deserves. I feel like, and I've learned quite a bit about Game Jolt. Apparently, most of the user base is younger. I'm realizing, which there's nothing wrong with. They just kind of have to gear things that way. And I think your game would actually is kind of naturally geared towards a younger audience. My game has some fantasy violence, which I guess is technically okay for everyone, but yeah, I mean, there's still like lasers and guns in the game that I'm trying to shoot.
That's in the E10 range.
Yeah, but it's strange. Everyone really likes Five Nights with Freddy on Game Jolt, which is very strange to me. But yeah, different strokes for different folks. And then Newgrounds again, it's got its own community. So it's interesting how each of these different platforms have their own communities, and they kind of affect the games that get put on them. But sometimes it's great to see how your game performs on these different communities, because, like I said, they're different. So that's just one thing to think about. I mean, if you're an indie. Of course, there's like Simmer.io and there's Congregate. There's just like endless amounts of these sites. So very cool.
Right. So different platforms like GameJolt, Steam, and Itch, and all that, they tend to attract, I guess, players of different genres.
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Yeah, well, players of different age groups, different genres, different demographics. Like, for example, Itch has the non-safe for work games. You know, they've got that covered.
Yeah.
Where I don't really know how Steam is on that. Those aren't really the types of games that I play personally, but just it's something that you see as a dev, you know. But yeah, it's just different everywhere you go. Yeah, and then of course Steam is not as nice to early access indie games, I feel like. So if you're trying to, you know, make a good game without getting blasted insults, it might be best to start with Itch or GameJolt. That's just
yeah, that's the main reason I'm putting my game on Steam.
Yeah. Have you put it on Steam yet or no?
No, not yet. I don't want to on it until like I know like it's verbed on Itch and or GameJolt.
Yeah, and my plan, I think, with my game is that I do want to start a Steam page soon to start building wish lists, because I think that's really important with the current algorithms on Steam. But I don't think I'm going to do early access on Steam, just because I want to keep the reviews fresh for when it actually is ready for release. I can use the reviews on Itch and GameJolt to make the game better, and I've got a really big testing audience right now, which is great. But it took a lot of time to build that up, like 2.5 years of building that up. So yeah. So Gamemaker. Oh, sorry. Were you going to go into that more?
Yeah. I was just going to say that. I need some time testing audience. I've actually overwhelmed with the feed I've been getting. Now, since hearing this, that's not to say I don't. Yeah, to the audience who's listening, that I don't want your feedback. I do want your feedback. It was just more than I was expecting to get.
Okay, you're breaking up a little bit, but I think I understood. You're saying that you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, but you still want to continue getting the feedback. You're just still like adjusting to receiving that amount of feedback. Is that what you're trying to say?
You summed it up well.
Yeah, I summed it up. Okay, perfect. So you're using Gamemaker. How long have you been using Gamemaker?
Technically, since it was 13.
Wow. Oh, you're breaking up again. Did you say you started when you were 13?
Yeah, what I was saying was that I was using Gamemaker since I was about 13.
Very cool.
Yeah. I tried making different types of games like platformers, mazes, but they never really got anywhere. These past two games I made are the closest I've gotten to getting anywhere.
Sure. I mean, sometimes it's really important. I think all the time, it's really important to get those games that you don't think anyone will play out of you, because that's how you learn how to make something that's playable. I really think, and you got to start somewhere. I think that's important too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Are there any like indie people over the years that you like kind of have been looking for or looking at and watching them develop games and seeing them as inspiration? Like you said, Super Meat Boy, Edmund, right? Edmund McMillan, I think his name is, or something like that. I might have butchered.
Yeah, Edmund McMillan. Really good one is the Behemoth. I love the Behemoth. Castle Crashers.
Yeah, that's right.
They made Castle Crashers and Alien Hominid.
Very cool.
Yeah, kind of like they kind of I don't know if their games have a shared universe, but all their games have different genres. But like they all put their own nice spins on the genres, and their games have a lot of references to each other. And I also
Yeah.
really like their cartoony art style.
Very cool. Very cool. Was that one of the ideas for your cartoony art style right now? Then I take it.
Not really, because the art style is very different. I just like them in general. I'm not sure if I got any direct inspiration from them. I just highly recommend them to anyone who likes e-devs.
Now, I saw that you mentioned your artist on Twitter, like you tagged them in a tweet. And now, as far as that goes, did you direct them on the art style? Did you say, "Hey, could you make this dragon look cool?" Or how does that go? I've never actually like commissioned art for a game before.
Yeah. He was the guy doing the sprite art. I actually was one of the guys I met at my game design club at FGCU.
Oh, so you met them in person? Very cool.
Yeah, we used to hang out together and work on making games together. And he actually offered. Well, I asked him if he would charge for Pixar, and he offered to do it for free. I might still pay him later on if my game ever makes income. But
Okay, perfect.
but yeah, he also works on his own games too, with a similar art style.
Cool. So you'll be able to help him, I'm sure, as well. You'll be able to kind of trade talents.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, those kind of friendships are really important, especially when you're first starting a business and getting your foot in the door, so to speak, or testing the waters with indie game business. I think that's super important. Do you go to like IGDA meetings or anything like that?
No. What's IGDA?
The IGDA is the International Game Developers Association.
I would love to go to some meetings like that eventually.
I'm not sure if you're in a city or not, but most of the major cities all over the world have chapters, which is great. Like I'm in Phoenix, which has a pretty small chapter, but it's still awesome. Given this is like COVID times and stuff like that, none of that stuff's happening right now. But there is actually a game dev meetup like on Zoom actually that I've heard about. But yeah, so the way I found out about these meetups through the IGDA is actually through meetup.com. I had moved to Arizona and I was looking for things to do, and some of these groups are like game nights or they go to a barcade or something like that. And I saw the IGDA meetup, and I was like, "Oh, the independent game developers or the international game developers." Yeah, I mean that sounds right up my alley, and I love it. I've been meeting tons of people in the area that way, and learning a ton of things, and getting some really useful feedback. It's extremely useful resource. I definitely recommend looking into it. There's like a Discord channel for the whole IGDA, and then that's divided up into chapters for each city. You can find it by searching online. I definitely recommend it for sure for all indies, absolutely, all over the world.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a membership, but if you're broke, you don't need the membership to be able to gain access to a lot of the stuff. I mean, there is stuff that you won't have access to without a membership, but the meetups and stuff like that, you don't need to be a member. You just go, you know what I mean? And I think that's what's really important is the networking stuff. I mean, yeah, if you're in the industry and you're making lots of money off it, then yeah, maybe you should pay dues to be a part of the membership and give back to the community a bit. But if you're just starting out, then there's no point in that, I don't think. Yeah. So as far as like the goals of your game, what's the main experience that you're trying to get across for players?
Yeah, one of the goals of my game is right now is to get all the sprite arts done and and get a high score table going before I proceed to the second world. I want to make the first 10 levels as good as they possibly can be.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I think that's important too. And then as far as like goals for your studio, where do you see your studio in 5 years?
I mean, hopefully with all games actually finished.
Yeah, yeah. So do you have a plan for your next game by chance?
Probably not, aside from making it with Godot or Goda, however you say it.
I think it's Godot, but yeah, I've heard many different pronunciations.
Yeah, because this is the last game I intend to make using Gamemaker Studio.
Sure.
As much as I love it, I want to start catching up and getting used to some of the more current game engines.
Sure, and you have a bit of a background in computer science, you said, right? So learning Godot would probably be a lot easier, I feel like. And I mean, obviously you're used to GML, but I don't think it would be too much of a switch for you. You sound pretty confident.
I'm pretty confident I can do it. I just gotta take some time to learn Godot.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I feel like I'm kind of stuck with C# because I honestly I don't really have that strong of a computer science background or education. All of my computer science education is not formal. I've taught myself just about everything I know in computer science. So as far as like design patterns and stuff goes, I very much have been learning stuff on the internet, and there's not a whole lot of structure for me. So picking up a new language is kind of the more time I spend in C#, the less I feel like picking up a new language.
Right. Yeah, I definitely understand that.
Yeah. GML was nice when I was working with it, but I don't think I was good enough at programming in general to really push it.
I used to try to avoid using programming as much as possible, but eventually I sucked it up, especially after I started taking actual programming classes.
Sure. And when you were learning those classes, was it all programming just for games, or was it for all types of software, or what type of stuff were you learning in those classes?
Most of it wasn't even for games, as far as what I did in my university. Or schools, just making basic computer programs like calculators.
Oh yeah, very cool. Okay, so we're kind of we're coming to an end as far as time goes. We talked about a lot of stuff. Is there anything else that you want to cover before we end?
I do want to suggest that for any aspiring indie devs to get a Twitter and start trying to meet fellow indie devs. I have said this before, and I will say this again. Indie Dev World Order is the best community on Twitter. The best.
I agree. I think you're 100% here. Yeah, they're a great group.
I've met some of the coolest, most wholesome people on there on Twitter.
Definitely, yeah. It's real surprising. You hear a lot about the stuff on Twitter. People have a negative connotation when they hear about things they hear about on Twitter. But I look at my feed, and there's very rarely anything that's not positive and that's not indie games. So I prefer my Twitter feed to any other platform right now, just because I've tailored it to indie and it allows me to do that. So.
Yeah, I've been doing that more and more too. I've been muting a bunch of different words I've seen too much of already, and I've been unfollowing some accounts that are not related to game dev and following more that are.
Hey, that's kind of the way I look at it. I mean, obviously you can follow whoever you want, but yeah, to me it's like, yeah, some of the stuff out there is like, all right, yeah, I don't even need that.
Right.
Very cool. But yeah, I agree 100%. Get out there, network. This is 2020. If you're still in a basement and keeping it all to yourself, I'm sorry. that first YouTube video that you put out that you think is going to go viral and catch fire. It's just not. I'm sorry. You really need to build a community before you can create anything that's viral at all. And when I say viral, I mean, I'm super happy if I can get 50 likes on something. It's like, holy cow, 50 likes. So don't expect hundreds of thousands of plays on your video. I'm sorry. It's not the way that happens. So let's network.
Yeah, exactly. You really do have to work. It's very important.
Absolutely. Cool. So real quick before we end here, I think we've covered some really great advice. Real quick, let's go over how to find you and how to find your game here. So How Far Will You Go can be found on itch. It's pretty easy to find. Gabe the Dead Fish .itch.io/how-far-will-you-go. So How Far Will You Go, separated by hyphens. Very simple to find. And you follow Gabe the Dead Fish on itch, and then Gabriel Pescado on Twitter is at Gabe the Dead Fish. That's all one word and camel cased. It's pretty easy to find.
Right.
Cool. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me on the interview. I know you just got done working, so you're probably ready for bed. So I really appreciate you taking your time out of your day and doing this for me. And I learned a lot. And I'm definitely gonna take a look at Woodstock Productions and see how they can help me in my projects. And I definitely appreciate everything. So thanks.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate you having me on here. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Very cool. And I'm definitely going to keep in touch with you and see how your game goes in the future. And hopefully we'll bring you back on and talk about it some more in the future.
Yeah, feel free.
Cool. Well, have a great evening.
You do the same.
All right, take care. Bye.
Okay, yeah. Night, man. Night, everyone.
Okay, that concludes this episode of Indie Game Dev Report. Definitely go out and check out How Far Will You Go and follow Gabriel Pescado at Gabe the Dead Fish on Twitter. Definitely pitch your game on July 28th. And check out the Games Marketing Essentials community on Twitter and Discord. Thanks again. Have a great day.